here. The Smith brothers, the Leavelle Coal Company, and the Hickory Coal Company owned the strip mines that made Dawson prosperous and kept mining a booming business from 1920 to 1950. It was only 3 years ago that the earth ran dry, within living memory for Dawson residents in 1953, but it might as well have been decades ago. Dawson had been absorbed into the city of Tulsa, and the strip mining industry left, taking its jobs with it. The coal companies that had once made this area prosperous had abandoned it, leaving nothing behind but the strip pits. These strip pits formed scars in the land so wide and deep that they had gathered rainwater and become streams. You could ride a boat through them. Just a few blocks to the east was a slaughterhouse, which on humid days scented the air with the stench of pig flesh. If you got close enough, you could hear the high-pitched screams of the pigs as they died. The homes here were not houses, but tar paper shacks. Though the city of Tulsa had condemned the shacks, people still lived in them, for they had no place else to go. The homes were nothing but 2 or 3 tiny rooms, with dirt floors and ceilings so low you had to slouch. The only heat came from stoves that burned wood, coal, or whatever else you could find. The kitchens were no more than 6-by-6-foot enclosures. The bedrooms were slightly larger, with enough room for a few beds, where everyone slept beside each other like medieval serfs. People sat on rope-bottom boxes or logs, with boards nailed across for their backsides. There were no sewers, so residents had to walk half a mile to reach the nearest drinking water, which came from an old hand pump. The whole family, sometimes 2 or 3 generations, slept together, ate together, did everything together. Tulsans in 1953 were not hostile or even ambivalent about this place or its people. They were simply unaware. They knew the city was segregated by economic classes, the same as it was in many towns. But Tulsans could not have imagined the depths of poverty in their midst, or that men, women, and children, families, could call the slums home. The Tulsa most residents knew was nothing like this neighborhood. The city they lived in was a model of the 1950s American ideal. Watching newsreel footage from this era is similar to seeing images from a dream, blissful memories in fading technicolor. Tulsa was the centerpiece of a region known as Green Country, a halfway point between the Golden Plains to the west and the Ozark Mountains to the east. Verdant hills and lush trees existed alongside some of the most spectacular skyscrapers in the American Southwest. With some of the nation's most elegant Art Deco and zigzag-style architecture, downtown Tulsa's buildings are the legacy to the oilmen who built them. For example, the Phil Tower and the Philcade buildings, financed by oil baron Wade Phillips, and the Cosden Building, named for oilman Joshua Cosden, to name a few. In 1957, Reader's Digest magazine would christen Tulsa as America's Most Beautiful City. The title was just as deserved in 1953 as well, though it did not extend to the North Tulsa slums. "Burn 'em down," some city employees said. The problem was, people still lived there. Where were they supposed to go? Nobody had an answer. So the shacks stayed, sitting as if the area was a black stain on a new dress, an embarrassment to this blossoming, beautiful young city. But to the families who lived here, these eyesores were the only things they had besides each other. Multiple generations crowded together, not so much in harmony, but from inevitability. They were surprisingly cheerful, as there was no sense in being unhappy. It is the paradox of poverty. When everybody has it as bad as you do, you don't realize you are poor. It's just life. All things considered, it was not a bad place to be a kid. Santa ran out of toys before he got to your house, and your birthday was no different from any other day. But none of that mattered when you didn't know what you didn't have. For a child, this neighborhood promised wide-open spaces. No fences, no boundaries, no prohibitions. Just lots of room to run, jump, and play any way you pleased. Simple and carefree as it was being a kid, it was a wonder why any child would have wanted to grow up too fast. But Phyllis Jean Warren wasn't like most children. She never had a chance. The North Tulsa slums were the only world Phyllis had ever known. But it was everything a tomboy such as she was could want. Trees were for climbing, fish and